Kicking off the list at number 10, Captain America. Wolverine Origins began back in 2006. It ran for 50 issues and it kicks off with Wolverine on a mountaintop with the Muramasa blade. Now he's had all these memories returned to him from the events of House of M, and now he wants a little payback on all those responsible for messing with his life. He took on Nuke in the Vietnam fields, and then in issue 4, Captain America joins the battle. They take turns bashing each other in, metal slashing around, they're just punching each other in the head. It's good fun. Cap gets the upper hand on Logan when he crushes the tendons in Wolverine's forearms, but a mighty kick to the hematoma lump on Steve's thigh buys Wolverine quite a bit of time to recover. Cap catches up and the fighting resumes, but Wolverine has the blade this time around, and an injured Captain America stands no chance. If it wasn't for the X-Men intervening at the last second, Cap would have lost a lot harder. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, that would be awesome. You know, it helps us out so much, and then in turn we can help you out and bring you that nerdy goodness. So hit that thumbs up, you guys are the best. Back to the list. Number 9, the Hulk. He's fought the green guy quite a few times, okay? And for this one, it's not really a fight per se. Savage Wolverine began back in March 2013 from Frank Cho. The series ran for 23 issues. Now when a S.H.I.E.L.D. Geological Department vessel with Shauna the She-Devil crashes onto the Forbidden Island, Wolverine wakes up now in Savage Land. His claws are immediately out, as they should be, and this comic wastes no time. A Velociraptor attacks him right away. What a rude awakening. He saves a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, takes off a head or two, and then heads back to the ship. Shauna the She-Devil greets him with joy and then fills him in. She was assisting a team of surveyors in mapping out the western part of the Savage Land when all their gear went dark, just like that. Some machine in the land's center was creating a dampening field, so now they're all stuck there. Shauna gets killed, but later on resurrected by the Neanderthals. Wolverine continues to find this machine, but he has no idea that she came back to life. But when Shauna meets up with Amadeus Cho in issue 3, some new info comes to light. That machine is also powering the jail cell for a powerful ancient alien in the mountain. And Wolverine is about to shut it down. How lovely. He takes on some giant gorillas, and when he gets close to the machine, the Hulk shows up. They're about to talk it out when one of those giant gorillas returns and then bites the Hulk. They fight it out a bit, and then Wolverine jumps in and quickly ends the action with one swift shink to the brain. That ought to do it. Number 8, Cyclops. The X-Men Schism storyline from writer Jason Aaron comes a 5-part story that begins with Wolverine acting as Cyclops' bodyguard at an international arms control conference in Switzerland. Mid-speech, Kid Omega returns, and he makes everybody start spilling all their horrible, deep, dark secrets. Cyclops and Logan are immune to this because, you know, superpowers. Sentinels are soon deployed worldwide, and a new Black King of the Hellfire Club is elected, Cade Kilgore. Cade's first plan of attack is to surprise the X-Men at the opening of a mutant history museum, and then the world is chaos. The only mutant left standing is the young Ida Okonkwo. Wolverine tells her to run, but Cyclops argues for her to stay as she's the only one that could possibly save everybody there. Ida ends up taking out the Hellfire henchmen, she saves the people, but Cyclops and Wolverine are arguing over if this was the right call to make. As the Sentinel approaches Utopia, Logan is imploring Scott to join the other kids and leave the island, because he plans to blow it to smithereens. They're not seeing eye to visor, so Scott makes it personal to get Logan's attention. He says, out of the blue, "She never loved you, by the way. You always frightened her." Harsh words. So Wolverine snaps back, suggesting that if Jean Grey was there at that moment, she would be more afraid of Cyclops. Scott responds by blasting Wolverine's face pretty much off. Wolverine, sans face at this point, still is on top of Scott, laying into him. I would say this is a tie at this point, but seeing how they look after the X-Men save them, Scott's in much worse condition. That's why you don't melt off Logan's face, man. It doesn't end well. The guy can heal. Just stop. Number 7, Quicksilver. After Quicksilver took the keys out of Cyclops' ride in Ultimate X-Men issue 3, you would think he had successfully thwarted the X-Men. All he has to do now was evade a hefty optic blast and hit the road. That was no problem seeing how he's the fastest man on the planet, but being the fastest doesn't mean you always have the upper hand. Sometimes you have to be the smartest. Wolverine was waiting for this moment to surprise Pietro. Logan just stood there with his claws out, he stood perfectly still, and Quicksilver ran right into him. When he asked Wolverine what he was doing here, Wolverine responded, wouldn't you like to know? And then he slashed him down to the ground. And then Quicksilver wasn't seen for quite a bit. Number 6, Silver Surfer. The first time we see zombie Wolverine was in Ultimate Fantastic Four issue 22. He got bit by zombie Hawkeye and Captain America, so his healing factor wasn't enough to save the day. Now when the Silver Surfer came poking around, everybody wanted a piece. Literally, they were so hungry, and this guy was like the holy grail of snacks. Hulk took the first bite, and soon after, Logan and the rest of the team dug in. They all then got cosmic powers and a full belly. Nice. Logan's idea of peeling back the candy coating and getting into the tender morsels inside surely helped put the plan into motion. Also, ew. Number 5. Iron Fist. In New Avengers issue 15, a friendly bout between Iron Fist and Wolverine is underway. No claws, no fist, no problem. It's a fun training exercise that draws readers' attention and even other heroes in the issue as well. Wolverine is encouraging Iron Fist to tap out, but it's no use. Wolverine knocks him straight to the ground, saying he was only at a 6 this entire time. Out of breath, Iron Fist replies that he too was only at a 3, so Out of breath, Iron Fist replies unconfidently that he too was only at a 3. Okay. I don't want to be around either of these guys when they're at a 1. No thanks. Number 4. Age of Apocalypse, Cyclops. Doesn't matter which universe you're indulging in, odds are Wolverine and Cyclops will go at it at some point. In Age of Apocalypse, Earth 295, Cyclops was mad that Wolverine was trying to get his girlfriend. Classic bro stuff. Similar vibes to the Ultimate Universe, only this ends much worse for Scott. When Jean chose to be with Logan instead of Scott, and as if that wasn't already good enough for Wolverine, he decided to slash out one of Cyclops' eyes, truly leaving him a Cyclops. Nothing like having that reminder on your face. What a harsh way to get dumped. Number 3. Namor. Namor the Submariner, Volume 1, Issue 24, titled Green War, was written by John Byrne, and it features Namor returning to Earth to investigate a Hilrithri invasion, which was the sentient plant race. Now they got Wolverine and forced him to fight Namor. Even on page we're told Namor's strength is far greater than Wolverine's, but Logan has speed and therefore gets the upper hand. The fight was interrupted by the Sorcerer Master Khan, who took out the plant dudes and brought Wolverine back to normal. But if this had continued, Wolverine would have kept slashing and kept healing. No water guns would have helped you this time, Namor. Number 2. Ultimate Cyclops. Ultimate Wolverine gets pretty jealous, and he takes things to a new height, literally, when he discovers that Jean Grey truly loves Cyclops. So Logan, now there was a deep rift growing between the two of them. So Charles was like, hey, why don't the both of you just go to Savage Land, work your stuff out, have some bro time, maybe become best friends? I don't know. They did not work it out or become best friends at first. See, what initially happened was Wolverine let Cyclops fall to his death off a cliff just so he can get Jean back. That's like some Lion King teen drama stuff. That's wild. Cyclops survived and then exposed Wolverine to the crew and then made him feel horrible about what he'd done, even letting Logan stay on the team. What a weird punishment. So Wolverine ended up changing his ways and becoming a leader, eventually becoming a role model for the younger X-Men, being friends with Cyclops later on. All it took was letting him fall to his death first. That's it. And finally, number 1, Shang-Chi. We're all counting down the days to see the newest MCU hero hit the big screen. Shang-Chi was first introduced to readers back in 1973, Marvel Special Edition. Since then, he's earned himself a spot on the Avengers and of course has appeared in other comics from time to time, like in X-Men Volume 2, Issue 62, titled Games of Deceit and Death. The X-Men seek out the help of Shang-Chi to take down Sebastian Shaw, but in comic book fashion, a little scuffle was to be had first. Wolverine compliments the punk on his first blow, even telling him that the first blood is his. But when you throw down with Wolverine, you throw down with the best there is. Wolverine has him pinned down and he's ready to finish off Shang-Chi, but luckily Storm came in and just settled it. What an exciting way to meet the X-Men. Kicking off the list at number 10. Deadpool. The cancelled Deadpool 3 movie would have been pretty amazing over at Fox. We would have seen Logan and Wade on a road trip from hell. It would have been much better than the last time we saw them on screen together. Yeah. But in the comics, Deadpool and Logan have, of course, bumped heads, like in Cable and Deadpool issue 44, for example. The two are fighting at a Hydra base, and Wolverine straight up impales Wade to the wall. It's a fun comic. Wade spends the first half with his head off, just getting kicked around like a soccer ball. It's all fun and games. But finally, Logan keeps Wade still once he shoves his claws through him and into the wall. That ought to get your attention sometimes. Number 9, the Hulk. Going back to Volume 1 of The Incredible Hulk, issue 340, titled Vicious Circle, we find the Hulk and Rick Jones out in a blizzard. They're trying to drive, but it seems like they're only going in circles. Meanwhile, the Hulk is going nuts. He needed to get out of there. Like when you have to stretch your legs on a road trip, I get it, right? So he blasts the roof right off, and the X-Men just happen to be in the neighborhood flying by. The Hulk almost hits them mid-air after he jumps off. I would say good thing he didn't hit them, but he continued flying by and then hit a Pan Am passenger plane, so it's like, Maybe he should have hit them then. So the X-Men were busy handling that, obviously, while on the ground, the Hulk landed and caused more damage. Wolverine tracked the beast down, and believe it or not, the Hulk almost snuck up on him. He couldn't catch the Hulk's scent, so it was really dangerously close. Wolverine popped his claws, turned, and then sliced the Hulk's arm, and they both looked at each other. And Wolverine, he walked away at this point. He retracted his claws. He's like, hey, remember who you are, Logan? Remember what you're doing. You're the bigger man here. And he's like, breathes, then he walks away, and then the Hulk jumps out at him and then starts it all over again. He thunderclaps Wolverine's ears to smithereens. His enhanced senses, this for sure, got the ball rolling, got him pretty upset. After this, naturally, there's mayhem. They take turns beating the crap out of each other until the fight was eventually at an end because it was broken up. But Wolverine for sure won this round. He tried walking away initially. He's the victim here, folks, don't forget that. Number 8, Spider-Man. In Spider-Man vs. Wolverine, released in 1987, we see Peter slinging across the city. He's trying to snap some pics for the Bugle. He's looking for his light, trying to get that angle right, but all of a sudden, trouble calls. He hears a young woman scream, so he zips down and he finds the owners of a grocery store dead on the spot. So he ends up following that lead, and it brings him right into Logan's path. Now Logan has already been doing his own plan at this point, and then in comes this kid wearing pajamas, shooting webs at people. So the two heroes now have no choice but to go loud and proud. They both fight off criminals together, and it's a fun time. But once they realize they're too late, Charlemagne had already gotten there. There's lots of bodies, so Logan naturally blames Spider-Man for ruining the whole thing. He's like, if it wasn't for you, this would not have happened in the first place. Pretty deep words. Spider-Man fires back though. He's not taking any of this. The two walk separate ways, but it's not over yet. Wolverine's meditating, he's feeling bad. Spider-Man's in bed, tossing and turning. He tries to take out Charlie himself, but Peter stops him. Well, he tries to. They fight in a graveyard for a few pages, but when Peter turns around to hit Wolverine one last time, he accidentally hits Charlie instead. I'm counting this as a loss because Peter wanted to fight. He engaged and he swung without looking, and now he can't get that image out of his head, and neither can we. Number 7, the X-Men. Okay, when I say the X-Men, I mean like all of them. Big yikes. Old Man Logan, one of the best storylines of all time, also one of the darkest. In a grim future where supervillains are taking over the planet, Mysterio pulls out perhaps one of his best tricks, if I do say so myself. If this happened in the MCU, kids would throw up gummy worms. They would be mortified. Mysterio tricks Logan into fighting the X-Men. He makes Logan believe that they're all supervillains, so Logan kills them all. He feels horrible, I mean obviously, so he runs off into the woods and he tries to take himself out. That's how bad he felt, but he vowed to never pull the claws out again after that didn't work. Even Santa Claus 2, starring Tim Allen, he's like, I can't do it. I made a vow, I can't do it. Number 6, Wolverine. Hey, question YouTube, if you fought yourself, who would win? In Logan, we got to witness Wolverine fight another Wolverine, but in the Age of Ultron comic, it was actually much darker, much more brain scratching at least. In Age of Ultron, the comic, we get to see this dark future where the Avengers are getting whooped. Ultron is using Vision as a conduit from the future, like the world's most painful game of broken telephone. The Avengers don't really see a way to get to Ultron and stop him, so they send Sue Storm and Logan back in time to find a solution. Now Logan wants to just straight up kill Hank Pym, just to make sure Ultron is never created. But in doing so, this opens up a dark alternate future, so when they go back, this new timeline that they've now created made the Kree-Skrull War move to Earth. So they run into the defenders of that timeline and also Logan of that timeline. Wolverine versus Wolverine, what a time. The time-traveling Wolverine beat alternate Wolverine, so everybody wins. Or loses. I'm not sure in this case. My head hurts, to be honest. Let's move on. Number 5, Teen Mutant. He doesn't have a name, so we'll just refer to him as Mr. Teen Mutant Boy, whatever you want to call him. He doesn't have a name because he's only around for one issue, spoiler alert, despite having an insane power. Let's talk about it. Ultimate X-Men issue 41. Now at first glance, he looks like a regular kid. He's got posters on his wall, one of which is Wolverine with the caption, "Be different," which is pretty amazing given how his day is about to go down. He wakes up, he's ready for school, he's looking for breakfast because he doesn't know how to make food. Apparently his mom is like the only one that can make him breakfast. So his mom's nowhere to be seen, so he doesn't eat. Only a pile of her clothes remain on the ground, and he's like, okay, so he goes to school. He doesn't call the police like a psychopath. If you ever see this, definitely call for help, absolutely. He continues on, he goes to school, but on the way there, he sees a collar on the ground on the sidewalk, but no animal. Again, more articles of clothing just strewn about. But then finally, he sees people. Okay, he's not going crazy. This is a good sign. We have real like live people. Lovely. But I bet he wished that that wasn't the case. So he has this fantastic ability where if you're just near this guy, you don't survive to talk about it. He hears it from the guy in the poster himself, the Be Different guy, Wolverine. He finds him ducking out in a cave and breaks the news to him. What happened was when he hit puberty, he developed a specific mutation that radiates a series of toxins and acid-like poisons, and it basically wipes out any organic tissue. It turns it into vapor. So the amount of people that he ended up accidentally killing that day was in the 260s number, yeah. So he doesn't last for long because, well, Wolverine came out of that cave all alone. You do the math. Imagine your idol coming into a cave to kill you. It's not bad. I don't know. Could be worse. If Hugh Jackman killed me, I'd be like, okay. That's not bad. Number 4, Lobo. We've talked about comic crossovers quite a bit here on Top 10 Nerd. They're a blast, I mean, for the most part. DC vs. Marvel showed us some pretty entertaining battles. I mean, we got to see Captain America vs. Batman, Spider-Man vs. Superboy, and of course, Lobo vs. Wolverine. The third issue out of the 4, we find Logan bad-mouthing Lobo's favorite bar. Logan is talking smack and Lobo interrupts him with a nice chain to the chest. That ought to hurt. Wolverine ends up walking out of the bar smoking a cigar. Also, he's alive. How did this happen? We're not sure how this one ended up going down as most of this fight happened behind the bar, but to kill an immortal man, good on you, James. Number 3, Jean Grey. This next one played out in live action in everybody's favorite X-Men movie, X-Men The Last Stand. So good. It's not. Showed us Wolverine taking out Jean Grey in a mercy type way in order to stop the Dark Phoenix from causing mayhem. Now this of course went down in the comics as well, and it was much better on page than on screen. You can find it in New X-Men issue 148. Wolverine is telling Jean that Scott still loves her, although he's just maybe a bit confused at this moment. Jean is weak. She's saying she can't breathe, that she has this terrible feeling that she feels scared and weird, that there's voices inside of her head. She knows she's dying. It's a really sad part in the comics. And Wolverine can't take the pain on himself, but he can take the pain away for now. Hugh Jackman is a wonderful actor, don't get me wrong, so is Famke Janssen, but the comic is way harder than the movie. This whole scene here gets my throat that little like, get a little tight throat feeling. So let's move on from really sad to really gross, shall we? Let's finish off like that. Number 2, the Hulk. Mark Millar's Old Man Logan. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Let's talk about it some more, it's good. It begins in volume 3 of Wolverine on issue 66 to be specific, and this is a future where supervillains have won. They did it! Good job, supervillains, nice. Hulk and She-Hulk had kids, the Hulklings, who, not nice, we don't want to talk about that. They would beat the crap out of you if you didn't pay rent, basically. Everybody had their own territory at this point, so Logan had to pay up. So Hulk Gang ended up taking out Logan's family because they were bored. They're also a little messed up in the head if you didn't already put that together. So Logan heads back and sees the Hulk, and he's like, you know what, no more games, no more talking, I'm here to get this done. Logan gets Banner right through the old chest plate, but we all know what happens next. He hulks out, and then he eats Logan. If you can't beat him, you gotta swallow him. That's the rule, right? Now you think this would be the end of it, but that's not what this list is. Now is it? No, you already know it's about to change. That's when Logan pops out from inside Banner, the old C-section from hell. So basically if you eat Wolverine, just know that it's coming out one of any way he wants, essentially. And finally coming in at number 1, everybody. What if Wolverine killed everybody? The entire Marvel Universe. Could he do it? Would he do it? Yes and yes. Written by Jimmy Robinson, released in 2006, this What If is based on Mark Millar's Enemy of the State series, taking place in Wolverine Volume 3 from issues 20 to 25. Now in that story, Wolverine is used to try and hunt down the Avengers, the X-Men, just everybody. The Hand and the Hydra were using him as a weapon. Baron von Strucker used him to steal documents from Reed Richards. It was a whole plan, right? It was a whole thing. But S.H.I.E.L.D. was able to capture him and heal him. In this What If, we see a world where Wolverine kept working for Hydra and the Hand. In this alternate timeline, everybody gets wiped out. Nick Fury is telling Cap and the others, I mean, sure, Hydra and the Hand is a concern, but like, we need to stop Wolverine first, like ASAP. That should be the first thing on our list right now. Thing is, Wolverine kills Spider-Man. He kills Iron Fist, he takes off Captain America's arm and leg, because whenever Wolverine is in trouble, Hydra just teleports him away. You can't really hit him. Susan Storm tried to make this force field trap that kept Logan in the same spot, with Magneto helping out as well, but while they were planning that, Wolverine snuck in and attacked them all through the floors, so everybody gets messed up there as well. Magneto and Sue Storm, gone and gone. Captain America gets claws in the head. Also gone. So Kitty Pryde phases her hand into Logan's head and kills him that way. You gotta end the list on a horrible note, you know, because why not?
Number 10. Killed his lover's brother. I mean, granted, his lover Clara Creed's brother Saul did set him up to be recaptured by Mr. Sinister. And yes, I did say Creed. This was established in the comic Origins number 2. It was here that we learned that Clara, Victor Creed's sister, was once the lover of Wolverine. Saul became jealous of Wolverine's close relationship with his sister, and so he decided to sell him out to Sinister. Well, him and her. Clara was seemingly killed by Essex, but recovered due to her healing factor, and Wolverine later realized the truth, that Saul was the one who had sold them out. In a fit of rage, he drowned Saul Creed in a vat of liquid in Sinister's lair. The same liquid that Essex planned to use on Logan to wipe his mind clean. Despite the fact that Saul was not really a great person, Wolverine still did not need to kill him here, and continued to drown him even as Clara begged Logan to stop hurting her brother. Wolverine killing Saul was also what would be explained as the reason why Sabretooth visits him every year on his birthday to torment him and fight him. That was what Victor used to do apparently to his little brother Saul every year. Because Victor could no longer punish Saul, he instead decided to punish the man who took his little brother away from him. It's like a weird, like, I loved my brother because I loved beating him up. Number 9. Didn't lift a finger to save a kid. Later on, when a very young prisoner of war was about to be shot upon his release by the rebel faction that Wolverine was working with, Logan did not do anything to stop it. Granted, he did figure that Eric, who had agreed to take care of that prisoner, Jamie, would do the right thing. Jamie was seemingly freed by his captors, but this was all to give him one last moment of joy before they took his life. They were like, yeah, you can go free, and then they're like, now we'll shoot him. Fortunately, while Eric took on the burden of killing Jamie, he actually did this so that he would be sure that the boy would truly go free, pretending to have missed the shot, allowing young Jamie to escape. Eric, by the way, is also the well-known author George Orwell, which is his pen name. This is a gloriously weird story that this point comes from, as evident by the fact that, yeah, George Orwell is in the story. This act, or lack thereof, comes to us from issue 36 of the 1988 Wolverine series. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists about Wolverine, I love talking about Wolverine, so be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. More mutant lists. Wah! Number 8. Killed a newly powered mutant. The newly powered mutant in question doesn't even have a name and is a high school kid. This of course all went down in the Ultimate Universe, which is a much harsher and gritty world by comparison to the Earth of 616. Still, Wolverine kills the kid who had just learned he is a mutant because it had been deemed that that kid is too dangerous. His powers allow him to basically vaporize people in his vicinity, and you get to see it happen in this issue as well, and I will say it's pretty brutal. It's like he like burns people sort of from the inside out is what it looks like. Without meaning to, this kid vaporized all the people in his hometown, including his own family and his girlfriend. Rather than try to help this poor kid, it's decided the best thing for all of mutant kind, though maybe not this youngster himself, is for him to die. Wolverine is sent on a mission to deal with this new mutant. He talks to the kid and does his best to explain sort of what's going on and what's gonna happen. He isn't a cold-hearted killer after all, but he also still goes through with the mission without even seeming to question if it's the right thing to do. I mean, come on, Wolverine. It's just a kid. The two mutants go up to a cave in the evening and Wolverine gives him a beer and explains the whole situation, and in the morning, only Wolverine leaves the cave, implying the despicable deed has been done. Also, this kid never even got a name. Number 7. Kidnapped a nun. Now granted, Wolverine did this to actually try and help a recurring rival of his from back in Madripoor, Roughhouse. Roughhouse, you see, had been taken by the evil cyborg Geist, who had been around since World War II and had a history of working for villainous world leaders, including the Fuhrer. Geist had taken Roughhouse to use him for experimentation, as he was trying to use a very intense type of cocaine to turn Roughhouse into a hero for the nation of Terra Verde, and more specifically its militaristic and villainous ruler at the time, President Caradid. However, the cocaine had some alarming side effects, and that's why Wolverine kidnapped the nun. She was a healer known as Sister Salvation, who was actually once the wife of the president before seeing the sins of her lifestyle and her husband and renouncing her marriage and becoming a nun as a result. Sister Salvation was the only one who could calm Roughhouse's unbridled rage and heal his disfigurement, symptoms of the Kane. It's actually even implied that Sister Salvation may have been a mutant this whole time. But anyways, so even though she had done nothing wrong, Wolverine took her with them by force, so that Sister Salvation could help keep Roughhouse in check. This all went down in issues 20 to 21 of the 1988 series of Wolverine. Also, I love this entire story, so you should go read it. Is good. Number 6. Killed Hank Pym. Of course, he had a pretty good reason to do so, and this wasn't actually main continuity Hank Pym. This was a Hank Pym from a time when Wolverine had time traveled back to in order to prevent the creation of Ultron to begin with, killing Hank of Earth 26111 before he could bring Ultron into existence. Time travel. Unfortunately, although he had good intentions here, Wolverine actually made everything even worse by doing this, and while the disaster that was Ultron was avoided, worse ones quickly popped up in his place. Enter Morgan Le Fay's magics versus Tony Stark's science. This all went down in the Age of Ultron series, with Wolverine killing Hank in issue number 6, with the aftermath spilling out into the following issues. Also, this is just another reason to just be like, hey, don't do time travel. It usually doesn't work out. Just don't do it. If you're like, maybe I'll time travel to fix everything. No, I've read too many comics about this, I've seen too many movies, it's gonna be a bad idea. Overall. Except for maybe Back to the Future, although it goes wrong and then it usually goes right by the end. Comedies. Number 5. Killed his childhood sweetheart. Now granted, Wolverine didn't mean to kill Rose, it just kinda happened, but he still did it. Rose was Logan's childhood friend and sweetheart back when he was known as James Howlett. When James left his family home, which was tragically torn asunder, Rose went with him. Eventually, she was courted by a man who wanted to marry her, and she agreed, breaking young Wolvie's heart. Ouch. In the end, however, Logan was drawn back into a fight with his former friend / rival growing up, Dog. Dog had returned to kill Logan and seemingly also do harm to Rose, or take her with him, or some other terrible thing. The two got into a fight, and it came to the point where Logan was about to kill Dog. Not wanting Logan to be a murderer, Rose urged him to stop, heading towards him, and in the midst of a panicked crowd, tripping and stumbling as she rushed to his side and becoming impaled on his bone claws. How tragic. Even Logan was aware of how terrible this was. What's worse is it seemed like Rose the whole time actually had loved him. I mean, they were kind of pretending to be cousins at this point, so it was kind of a thing where they were like, maybe we both have feelings but we can't be together. Rose died and Logan lost his mind, turning feral under the weight of what he had done. This all went down in backstory series Wolverine: The Origin, with Rose's death happening in issue number 6. Number 4. Put moves on MJ. This one went down in the Ultimate Universe, but although it wasn't 616 Wolverine who was responsible, it was still a Wolverine. Just the Wolverine of Earth 1610 instead. In the Ultimate Universe, at one point, Wolverine and Spider-Man swap bodies. This all happens because, well, Jean is mad at Logan, which is maybe one of the most despicable things that Jean has done, making Wolverine swap bodies with someone that he hates, but I guess we'll save that for our Jean Grey version of this list. While their bodies are swapped, it turns out Wolverine got some alone time with Mary Jane while in Peter's body. We later learn, once the two heroes have swapped back, that Logan in Peter's body attempted to put the moves on MJ and even tried to sleep with the young lady, which is pretty despicable for like a long list of reasons. And I don't think I have to go into them because I think you know what they are. Number 3. Trying to shame the Punisher. Which admittedly doesn't sound that despicable. Like on paper, trying to shame someone doesn't sound that bad. Until you understand the whole context in which Logan tried to shame Frank here. This really comes down to a sort of comic book writer feud, wherein Frank Thierry, longtime writer on the Wolverine series, decided to get back at Garth Ennis for his brutal rendition of the fight that happened between Wolverine and the Punisher in his own Punisher run. Ennis's fight happened in Punisher issue 17 back in the 2001 series. That fight really only started because Punisher made fun of Wolverine's height. Their team up there also started with them taking on a group of people with dwarfism, and then of course ends with Wolverine getting steamrolled by Frank, and I mean literally steamrolled with a steamroller. To get revenge though, Frank Thierry sank pretty low. At the end of his fight with the two heroes in issue 186 of Wolverine, he has Wolverine discover Punisher's bodybuilding mags, and basically makes fun of him for having them and trying to shame the Punisher because he believes that he's gay. That's pretty awful. Now granted, Wolverine in the present day is a proud parent of Akihiro, aka Daken, his openly bisexual son. So obviously I don't think this writing reflects the modern day character, but like, yeesh. It is a pretty bad. It was a weird time, friends. Number 2. Drowned his own son in a puddle. Speaking of Akihiro, I mean exactly what I just said is really what happened here. Granted, like so many awful things that Wolverine has done on this list, this one also wasn't directly his fault. He and his son Daken, aka Akihiro, were manipulated by Sabretooth, which is what led to this moment. The most tragic element of this whole thing is that he knew what he was doing was wrong, and sadly just spend time reflecting on what his life could have been like with Daken if he had actually been able to grow up with his father around. They could have had a beautiful relationship instead of hating and wanting to kill one another. Wolverine thinks on this, imagining what their lives could have been like, all while drowning Daken in a puddle. If you want to see this heartbreaking horror show of this son versus dad battle, check out issue 34 of the first volume of Uncanny X-Force, which started in 2010. Also, I believe that's Rick Remender and Phil Noto, and you know I love Phil Noto, and also Remender's done some pretty cool stuff, so it's a good one, but a tragic one. Number 1, forgot about his kids, then killed them. Never mind. Wolverine just killing Akihiro, who admittedly in the past has also been pretty evil, so as awful as that was, there was still kind of an element to that where it almost felt fair. It was still sad, but you were like, I mean, he's kind of a bad guy. But Wolverine's fights against his children is not a saga that ends there. In fact, there was another time in the comics where Daken actually pitted his dad against his fellow half-siblings, all children of Wolverines that he either never knew about or had forgotten as a side effect of his healing powers and his super long lifespan. This team was brought together by Daken, and he called them the Mongrels. Or well, brought together by Daken, and the Red Right Hand at least called them the Mongrels. They came together to take on their father, with Daken training them for the fight. In the end, however, Wolverine defeated them, killing them all. Now this of course is a win-win scenario for Daken though, because either they killed Wolverine, his own father and enemy, or they ended up killed, which meant that Daken would also have a part in hurting his dad just by revealing the truth of the team members and how they were all his kids. Really though, the greater organization behind this whole plot was the Red Right Hand, who only wanted Wolverine to suffer as they had. They were united by the fact that they'd all lost family members to Logan, who had killed them at one point or another in his very long life, which is why they pit him against his own unknown children before taking their own lives. They were like, we don't even want you to die, we just want you to hurt people that you once loved or could have loved. You know how it is. And Wolverine doesn't even know, because he's like, I don't even know who these people are, and then later finds out and is like, oh gosh, oh boy, my life is terrible.